Okay, so welcome everyone. My name is Maura Canvan, and I am with the Community Health and Wellness Department at Suburban Hospital. Today we are here to discuss healthy living for the brain and body with Ms. Sheila Griffith. Sheila is the Vice President of Programs and Services at the Alzheimer's Association National Capital Area. Today she will discuss lowering the risk for dementia and Alzheimer's, and we will have questions for her at the end. So please feel free to send them in the Q&A box as they arise, and after the webinar, I'm sorry, and then we'll ask them at the end. And after the webinar, you'll receive a link to the evaluation, and we really appreciate you filling that out so that we can continue to improve our programs. And this is recorded, so we will send it out in the coming days. Thank you all for being here, and I'll now pass it on to Sheila.
Great. Thank you so much, Maura. It's great to be here. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here online, virtually, or in person. And I just wanted to coming in from that nice weather outside, so to see this information. So as soon as we finish here, you can go back outside, I hope, and do some great activities and enjoy your day. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. As Maura said, my name is Sheila Griffith, and I'm from the Alzheimer's Association. And many of you might be familiar with us. We've had many programs in the past. And if you're not, you can get in touch with the Alzheimer's Association, either alz.org, our website, or you can call our helpline number, which is 800-272-3900. So I'll go into all of our resources and things like our helpline as soon as we finish our program. So I'm going to go ahead and just dive right into healthy living for your brain and body. And as Maura said, we'll go ahead and take questions either in the Q&A. If you're as you're watching and you're thinking, you can go ahead and just put your questions in the chat, or just at the end of this program, I'm happy to answer any questions I can. So this is obviously healthy living for your brain and body. This is a great program for anyone who is interested in having a healthy brain, which we always joke and say, we're all interested in that because we all have a brain, and we're all, want to lower our risk for getting any kind of brain problems or brain issues. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get rid of this. Hide meeting controls. Okay, so our learning objectives today, as you can see on the screen, is just going to talk about why should we take care of ourselves as we age, and that's any age. What benefits are there in really taking care of ourselves and adopting a healthy lifestyle? And we're going to talk about it in 4 different areas, come up with strategies in 4 different areas. The one is physical health and exercise. The other one you can see is diet, nutrition, cognitive activity, and also social engagement. So the Alzheimer's Association, we think all 4 of those areas are places that we all should work on for a healthy body and a healthy brain. You can see that last bullet talks about healthy age, making up a plan and using our workbook for healthy aging. And you can go to our website, www.alz.org, and download the workbook for this program. But if rather than do that, I'm advocating to not waste paper, just use any paper you have now and maybe jot down some ideas that you come up with in seeing this program. Might be a way to develop a plan rather than having to use a workbook. But you're also more than welcome to go ahead and download our workbook on the website. All right. So healthy aging, we know that aging well depends on some factors, things like genes, whatever we've inherited, those traits we've inherited from our parents, our grandparents, and beyond. Those genes, we can't really help what those genes are, whether we're tall or short, or we have dark hair, light hair, gray hair. Those are all built into us. Not much we can change there. But there are things we can change, things like our environment and how we live our life and our lifestyle, some of the choices that we make in our daily life. in our environment can really affect our brains and our bodies. So that's what we're really going to focus on today, is things that we can change in our environment and in our lifestyle to help us live healthier. So just some background, the brain is the control center of the body. And there are 100 billion nerve cells or neurons that are creating a branching network in our brain. The Alzheimer's Association is, we're advocating for raising money for research to research a brain disease called Alzheimer's disease. And so we're very, very interested in the brain and the brain functioning. With Alzheimer's disease, brain cells are destroyed. And you can see here that a healthy brain has signals that travel and through the brain and form memories and thoughts and feelings. And it's the problem with Alzheimer's disease. When these brain cells are destroyed, we're destroying things. The disease is destroying things like memories, thoughts, and feelings, unfortunately. So we're going to learn a little bit more about Alzheimer's disease, but if you've ever known anybody with the disease, it's very devastating, not only to the person, obviously, who has the diagnosis, but also to their loved ones and everyone around them in their community. We're particularly interested in the brain, obviously, as I said, but also that heart-brain connection. We believe that that whole, and science believes that whole heart-brain connection is interrelated, and what you do to protect your heart can also help your brain at the same time. So eating heart healthy, doing exercise that's heart healthy is also going to help the brain. The brain needs blood flow, and that's exactly what's happening when we are doing anything that is affecting our heart and doing something that benefits our heart. It will benefit the brain. The brain depends on that oxygen you can see on the screen to have adequate blood flow. And about 25% of the blood from every heartbeat is going up to our brains. So if we have anything that interrupts that blood flow or that lessens that blood flow can be detrimental, obviously, to the brain and probably to the heart too. So think about that heart-brain connection. What you're doing that you've been told or that is heart healthy will probably also be brain healthy as well. So this is the slide that I was kind of alluding to. Let's just talk about Alzheimer's disease and dementia for a minute. So this is kind of our number one question we get asked at the Alzheimer's Association. What we hear the words Alzheimer's disease and we hear the word dementia. Are they the same thing or are they different? What is the difference? And so they are different terms. And we actually have a whole program, just like today, that talks about Alzheimer's disease and dementia and actually defines each and contrasts and everything. But we're going to go over that just as a summary right now to think about our healthy living. So dementia is actually an umbrella term that is describing different symptoms that happen and for different reasons. So dementia is not only a symptom that something may be wrong, but it's also not a normal part of aging. So a lot of times that's a misconception where people think as you grow older, you're supposed to have memory loss. You're supposed to have like brain fog, or you're just supposed to be a lot slower in your brain processing and maybe in your answering. And that's actually not true. Those symptoms of dementia, that's what that is when you have trouble with your memory, if you have trouble thinking and planning, the executive functioning of your brain, that's not normal aging, and that is a sign that something is not right. It's a sign that you're having symptoms of dementia and that something you need to find out the cause. You should see a doctor about it. So as I said, dementia is an umbrella term, and we kind of, in our program that I just referenced about Alzheimer's and dementia, we actually have a picture of an umbrella and for dementia. And so this term can describe all of those things I just said, the problems with memory, thinking, planning. And then underneath the umbrella are several diseases that dementia may lead to. So one of those diseases is Alzheimer's disease. So it usually starts out with some problems with memory. and something that can be termed dementia probably. And usually the dementia is leading to something. And a neurologist and other doctors can help diagnose what is the dementia leading to. Most often, if somebody has dementia and it's been diagnosed, it's leading to Alzheimer's disease, unfortunately. So it's the most common cause of dementia. And it's about 70% of the people who are diagnosed with dementia, it is leading to Alzheimer's disease. Some of those other diseases underneath the umbrella that are less common for dementia to be a symptom of are things like vascular dementia, Lewy bodies dementia, frontal temporal lobe dementia, and even Parkinson's. Parkinson's has, its own set of symptoms, but it can sometimes have dementia as a symptom as well. So anytime we see somebody who formerly was never having trouble with their memory or their thinking, or just in general seems confused and having that, kind of brain fog that we all kind of experienced during COVID. And hopefully we all snapped out of it now that COVID has lessened quite a bit, and we're getting back to normal or back to normal in our lives. Some people didn't snap out of it. Some people, it maybe wasn't brain fog, it was dementia, and it was just showing up more predominantly when we were in COVID. We saw many people who became confused and couldn't understand why we were in this pandemic and why we were so isolated. And a lot of times isolation leads to confusion like this. And we're going to talk about that at the during our program here when we talk about social engagement. But how about some risks for Alzheimer's disease and dementia? Are there risks? Yes, there are. As we age, our risk for both Alzheimer's disease and dementia increases. So one of the greatest known risk factors for Alzheimer's disease itself is age. So there are more people 65 and older who are diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. There are people who are younger than 65 who get diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, and that's called younger onset Alzheimer's. And that is far fewer people, probably, of us as Americans, it's about 300,000 people who are younger onset, younger than 65. Over 65, it's about 6 million in the US. So there's a lot of people with this disease, and mostly it affects people who are aging and older. Genetics, as we said earlier, can play a part in any kind of disease, but it does play a part in Alzheimer's disease. So you could be at higher risk if somebody in your family was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. If you had a mother, father, grandparents, even sibling, that could put you at higher risk for Alzheimer's disease. If you've had a head injury or multiple head injuries in the past, anything that would be termed a head injury, it could put you at higher risk. So we really, I think, are much more aware of people getting head injuries and concussions and things like that. Certainly in high schools now, we really talk about concussion protocols and avoiding concussions as at all costs. And this is because it is a factor in many brain diseases, but definitely in Alzheimer's disease. The cardiovascular factors could also affect your risk for Alzheimer's disease or dementia. I had mentioned that under the dementia umbrella, there is vascular dementia, and vascular dementia is definitely something that could, if you're somebody who has a history of stroke or any kind of artery disease, this could be affecting your blood flow throughout your body, but also the blood flow that we talked about earlier from your heart to your brain. If that is compromised or lessened, you're definitely at risk for Alzheimer's or dementia. And actually, science has said that fewer years of formal education can put people at higher risk for Alzheimer's disease and dementia. And we'll hear a little bit more about that later on in the program, about why that is. And so right now, a word about therapies for Alzheimer's disease. There are a lot of therapies out on the market right now that treat the symptoms of Alzheimer's disease. So those things like short-term memory loss, problems with thinking and planning. But there's no cure for Alzheimer's disease at this point. We have some great drugs that probably are on the way to becoming a cure at some point in the future. But the drugs that have been around for a little while that help the symptoms of Alzheimer's disease, they just treat the symptoms. They don't cure, prevent, or even slow the progress of the disease. So it's something we're very hopeful for, is finding a cure, or at least better drugs that can really affect the biology of the disease. So today, as I said earlier, we're going to look at these four areas of how we age and taking care of ourselves. So it's physical, diet, nutrition, cognitive, and social engagement. So we'll talk about physical first, and we're talking a lot about cardiovascular risk so far. So if you have cardiovascular, if you've engaged in any kind of cardiovascular activity, so it could be anything like walking, could be running, jogging, could be doing any kind of activity, really a physical activity, fishing, gardening, anything that you're doing that is cardiovascular in nature can help reduce your risk for cognitive decline. So getting that blood flowing, making sure that you do regular exercise and that you're actually doing something that is kind of challenging to you. So if you're spending, if you're going for a walk for 10 minutes and it's a very easy walk and not very difficult and not really getting an increased blood flow, you may want to think about doing something a little bit more strenuous. Now, not too strenuous, because sometimes that's you're not able to individually. We all have our own limitations, but finding that that spot where, we're challenging ourselves physically, we're getting the blood flowing, but we're not putting ourselves at risk in any way. Always talk to a doctor if you don't do a lot of physical activity right now, like exercise or even taking long walks. If you don't do that now, check with your doctor and make sure that's okay for you to do. And if it's not okay for you to do, there are things you can do just from a chair standpoint. So there's a lot of you could do chair yoga. You can lift weights sitting in a chair. So there are a lot of things we can do. Just even straightening out your legs as you're sitting in a chair could be a good way to increase your blood flow. And you can see here, there's no single recipe for brain health. It's individual for us. But the message that we want to really get across to everyone is start to move, somehow get yourself moving. So what can we do? I just talked about a few things we can do, anything from walking, gardening, to even chair exercises, but do something you like. Think about it and think about something that you'd like to do. It's a beautiful day today, so this is a good day to start something physical. Start out small, move safely. As I said, get your heart rate up. That's the important thing, is that we're just not being sedentary and our heart rate is never changing. It's just staying the same. And maybe do something with friends, or I have a dog that loves to walk and he loves me to walk him. And so I always feel guilty when I don't get a chance to walk him. So that kind of keeps me going. And he's my exercise friend for a nice long walk on a day like today. But anything you can do that, sometimes if you can buddy up with somebody that keeps you honest, if you're somebody who doesn't like to really do a lot of physical exercise, having a buddy system, can get you going and keep you going and motivate you. And as I said earlier, make sure you check with your doctor before you start any kind of exercise program that you might never have done before, or if you're not sure that it's something you should be doing. So some of the things we can do right now is to stop smoking if you do smoke, avoid excess alcohol. This is a great one, this third bullet, get adequate sleep. So I know when I'm talking with people and maybe usually in front of an in-person live audience, I'll ask people, raise your hand if you think you get adequate sleep. And adequate sleep is defined as like 7 to 8 hours for an adult. Now, that's hard to get 7 hours of sleep at night, I think, anyway. I have okay sleep patterns, but I wish they were better. I wish I was sleeping adequately and up to 6 to 7 to 8 hours a night. But sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes things occur. And so cleaning up your sleep habits, thinking about different ways that you can help yourself if you're not getting adequate sleep, changing your routine to something that is better for a better sleeping arrangement could be something you want to think about. Avoiding head injury, that is a big one we've talked about already. If you had a history of a brain injury, you could be at risk for either Alzheimer's disease or dementia. So making sure you avoid any head injuries from this point on, wearing a helmet or just not engaging in things that could result in a head injury. The 2 bullets next: manage stress and treat depression. Very important. A lot of times we don't sleep because we feel stressed, or maybe we're sleep too much because we have depression and we didn't get it treated. So managing stress and treating depression are very important. And if there are times where you feel like you're depressed and you're not able to control it, or you're stressed and you're not able to control it, you're not able to, stop the stress, then you should really talk to your doctor and get help. And it could be anything, even the adequate sleep. It could be that you need a sleep aid. It could be that you need, some kind of therapy or something to manage stress and manage your depression as well. So make sure you do check all of these things on this slide and make sure you're doing the best you can for yourself. And what we can do right now is monitor our numbers and take action. So hopefully you're doing this already. Hopefully if you have high blood pressure, you're aware of it and you're taking action, either taking medication for it or treating it in a different way to lower it. Same with blood sugar, our weight, and our cholesterol. Make sure that we're aware of these numbers, that we are monitoring them, and we're keeping them in the right place where they should be. And usually it's low, right? Go from weight, cholesterol, blood sugar, blood pressure, all of it has to be lowered, doesn't it? So hopefully not all of it, but whatever has to be lowered, hopefully you're taking action and doing that. And if you don't feel like you've been able to do that, please see your doctor and have your doctor help you get help to do that. So the next slice of our 4-piece pie here is diet and nutrition. And this is a great one. Sometimes people don't like to talk about physical health and exercise if they're not somebody who enjoys exercising. That's not a popular part of this program, but diet and nutrition usually does, get a lot of people talking. And I love to hear if you have, a specific diet or eating plan that you might be following. It's great to hear about and just learn about. But let's just say what's good for the heart is also good for the brain. So whatever we're eating, is fueling our heart and is fueling our brain. And you may have heard this science all the time. There are scientific trials and different articles coming out about following some specific dietary guidelines to reduce risk of all these different diseases: heart disease, cancer, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease, stroke, and diabetes. So all of these things, these diseases, we could affect with our diet and our nutrition. So kind of thinking more about that and learning more about different types of diets that could help these different conditions. So maybe you've heard of the Mediterranean diet. Many of us have. That is a diet, sort of exactly what you see on this slide, heavy in fruits and vegetables and lean meats and fish, and things like olive oil and vegetable oils, and not saturated trans fats. There's also the DASH diet, which is for hypertension. And it's very similar, but it's obviously low salt, low fat, no salt, low fat. So I think that's probably really good for all of us, don't you? I mean, it's just kind of makes sense. I'm going to move that out of the way. So we should be eating, if we think about this, after a certain age, we might have had, high cholesterol, or maybe our weight is high, all those numbers we were thinking about. Maybe we're developing diabetes because we're eating things in the wrong way, too many carbohydrates and sweets. So if you think about this, eating more fruits, vegetables, nuts, beans, whole grains, lean meats, and vegetable oils, and avoiding things like saturated fats, trans fats, processed foods. Sometimes it's hard, if you're running out of time and it's dinner time and you have something that you're not making from scratch, that it's partly processed. Well, okay, taking that into consideration, but still trying to eat healthy, but really thinking about what is a processed food and what isn't. Avoiding solid fats, salt, sugar. One of the things, this type of discussion really advocates for is really thinking about any kind of added sugar or added salt into our food. Now, sometimes when we eat out, we might not be able to control so much what's going into the food. Maybe there's sugar added, maybe there's salt added. But certainly at home, when we're preparing our own meals, not putting sugar or putting salt in the food. See if you can do that. I used to take sugar in my coffee every morning, and I'd have like 2 or 3 cups of coffee every morning and have sugar in each cup. And after doing this program a few times, I've worked for the Alzheimer's Association now almost 5 years. And when I first started doing this program specifically, I thought, boy, I should put my, money where my, mouth is here and stop adding sugar. Let's see if I can do it. And I was able to. I try not to add any sugar at all to what I'm eating, but it's not always controllable. But certainly in my coffee in the morning, I've eliminated sugar, and it was a little painful at first, but now it's something I'm glad I did. And then I kind of move on. Still drinking the coffee, but not with the sugar in it. And of course, salt. If you have salt on your table or salt on the counter, maybe put it away. Don't use the salt. Try cooking without it. And lastly, you can see on this slide, in avoiding the last bullets, deep fried food and unhealthy fast foods. So trying to find those healthier choices in the fast food menu when you need it. I know a lot of fast food restaurants are really trying to do that nowadays, is offer healthier options, with all the bad options that they usually have, though, too, unfortunately, are the high fat options. So that was diet and nutrition. Really thinking about your diet, maybe eliminating some of those things I had said. If you are somebody who eats a lot of fast food, maybe trying to cut down on that or get those healthier options on the menu. So here's a really fun one. This is a fun part of our puzzle right now, is cognitive activity. And it's a great one to talk about. So we know that science is telling us that keeping your mind active will help your memory, and in the way that it helps form new connections amongst your brain cells. So it's just building your cognitive functioning, and by doing more cognitive activity. And cognitive activity also encourages blood flow to the brain, which by now we want. We want to keep optimal brain flow to the brain. And what else can we do besides physical activity? Well, we can do some cognitive activity too. So anything that's a mentally stimulating activity may help maintain or even improve our cognition. And here's where we're going to talk about engaging in formal education can help keep your brain healthy and provide protection against developing dementia. So how can we do that? If you're somebody who maybe is retired or even still working, you might feel if you're still working, you might not have time, but if you're retired, maybe you do. But thinking about what is same as what we talked about with the physical activity. What would be fun for you? What would you enjoy? Is it reading books or articles that challenge or inspire you? That is really building your cognitive activity. Reading a book about a topic you know nothing about, but that you're interested in. That is a way of learning. Completing puzzles, even jigsaw puzzles, crossword puzzles, playing games that are challenging for us. People who play cards, and specifically bridge, This is I don't play bridge, but what I'm told is that it's a very mental, cognitive engaging game, remembering the cards that have been put down, and then also kind of memorizing the people you're playing against, the cards that they may be holding. So things like that are very challenging. Things like chess, very challenging also. How about learning new skills or hobbies? Now that's hard too. Learning something new. It can be very challenging, and make it as challenging as possible. Make sure that you are not just doing something to relax, cognitively, to turn your brain off. You can do that. Maybe you like to read before bed, and that's a way for you to kind of disengage from the day, and it really relaxes you, and it helps your sleep. When we talked about adequate sleep and your sleep environment, and you're improving your chances for getting a good night's sleep, maybe. So maybe that's how you like to do it, is by reading. But this is reading for cognitive challenge is a little different than relaxing. And try to engage in ongoing learning. That's what we found is really helpful for maintaining cognitive ability, is to keep learning. And putting yourself into environments and situations where you have to continue to learn. And it could be anything, okay, I don't want to go to social engagement yet. I thought I had another slide, but I always ask everyone, and we can talk about this in our Q&A at the end, but what kind of cognitive activities are you doing? And, now that you've learned a little bit more about cognitive function and having cognitive activity play a role in that, what are you doing? What are some of the things that you think are helping you build your cognitive function? And two of the things we can do as adults that are really challenging to us as adults, one is to learn a new language. So one we don't know already, if we already know a language, just learning a different one, very challenging. And the second is learning a musical instrument. Now that can be also very challenging. So having those things, kind of to pick out and to try again and develop that skill is that's really what we're talking about, is things that challenge us. But you know what, also you can even, there's a lot on streaming, on Netflix and different other options, streaming options that really are, could be entertaining, but can be also a way to learn as well. So maybe you're interested in World War II, and, watching a show on that, a documentary, can be a way to build cognitive activity. So anyway, the fourth piece of our pie is social engagement. And I talked about that earlier, not being isolated, and having social engagement with people around you. It's associated with living longer and having fewer disabilities. So if we have social responsibilities, we're caring for family members maybe, or we're helping out in the community, people are counting on us. This is a way that keeps us engaged socially and maybe cognitively too, who knows, and also helping us live with fewer disabilities. And that's what science has shown us. Staying engaged in the community also helps you maintain your skills. So I know a lot of retired people who maybe were teachers or in the teaching profession and go back as tutors, and as a way of staying engaged in communities. Being a tutor in your local community schools can be a great help to the community, obviously, and to those students, but also to you. So I hope anybody who's doing that, you see the value in that. And remaining both socially and mentally active just helps support our brain health and hopefully delays the onset of any dementia that might be in the future. So this is what we really want to do, is delay that onset of dementia if it's in the future for us. And the way we can do that is through these four quadrants. So we're going to just talk a little bit more about social engagement. Here are some ideas of what we can do. When I spoke earlier about downloading the workbook that we have on our website, or just today having a piece of paper and jotting down some ideas, how about some ideas socially, to keep you more engaged or to get you engaged if you don't feel engaged? even visiting with family and friends. Having somebody come to your home and visit you can be really, really wonderful for people who can't get out. And it's really isolating if you're physically not able to get out, or there's some other problem. Having somebody come to you and visit can be very rewarding and fun. And we need to think about what are the opportunities where we can either stay engaged in the community and help our community, or help our family and friends. Any one of these things, we can give of ourselves and get involved in something and then help others. As we said earlier, volunteering outside the home, great way to do it. Becoming a volunteer, having it quantified and qualified is a great way to make a difference. But even joining a group or a club, hey, even an online book club, you're still socializing with somebody, even though it's virtual. It's still social engagement. So it's something to think about, and something we all should, avoiding isolation. Isn't there a difference between being alone? Because everybody likes their alone time, don't we? A lot of times parents of little children, you hear that's the only thing they want is alone time without the kids for a few minutes. But just being alone is fine. It's being isolated and lonely that's not fine. And finding a way to kind of get yourself out of that isolation is important and good for your brain health. So in conclusion, let's think about putting all these 4 pieces together of physical health, diet, nutrition, cognitive, and social activity. We're going to take care of our health, get moving, right? Trying to move, whether we're in a chair or if we can get outside. Start eating better. A lot of people do eat right. A lot of people look for the veggies and the fruits fill your plate with that before you take on the proteins maybe. But making a change that makes your food you're eating a little healthier for you. Keeping your mind active, learning, and then staying connected with others. Combining all of these, if you have some ideas about what you can do personally in all 4 of these quadrants, well, that would be ideal, and that's the maximum benefit you can get. But I always caution people and say, just do one of these things. Do what I did a couple of years ago and stop putting sugar in your coffee or tea in the morning, and see, how you do. If you can keep that as a healthy habit that you then don't even think about after a while. So seeing if that can make a difference for you. So that's what this program is about, really. Begin today. If you can think about something you can do today, start small and build. Do what you enjoy and stick with it. So hopefully you can avoid sugar in the coffee or the tea in the morning, and then see if you can really stick with it and live with it. And making healthier choices, make a plan for how you'll do it. Maybe enroll in an eating plan, or they have so many food plans nowadays that if you really need that support, you can enroll in one of those, or really talking with your doctor and finding out what is the best plan for you. And maybe you already know what it is. Maybe your doctor's already asked you to make those changes, and so here's another opportunity to try to make some of those changes you have to make. Get support from others. Like I said, either involve your dog or involve family or friends or neighbors to keep you honest and to try to motivate you, and above all, of course, have fun. In a word, just to be for everybody to know, to be a savvy customer. We see a lot of advertisements nowadays on TV and on our computers and our phones. If it's too good to be true, it's probably not true. So if you found something that you think is going to be a miracle cure, you should Google it and really see both sides of it, because you might find that it is too good to be true, and it's really not going to be something that's a good idea for you to do. So be cautious when you hear huge promises and miracle cures. Do good research, and talk to trusted professionals like your doctor, asking your doctor about certain things. If you find a supplement or something that you think is going to really help with, like maybe give you more energy, or maybe you feel like you have like that brain fog we talked about, and this supplement's going to cure that, talk to your doctor or your pharmacist first before you do that. If you're taking medications, like say you're taking medications, cardiac medications, or for blood pressure, and then you mix in a supplement that you've told nobody about that you're just going to start taking because you think it'll be good for you, it could really affect those other medications that you're taking. So you really need to let your doctor know and talk to your doctor about whether you want to take a supplement or not. And you can always consult the Alzheimer's Association. Look on our website. We have a lot of information about so many different things, about different foods, supplements, things like that. Speaking of our website, so here I talked earlier about our helpline. We have a 24/7 helpline, and it's for anything you have a question about. So mainly about Alzheimer's disease, dementia, or brain health. You can call our helpline, 800-272-3900. And that can really be a way for, if you're a caregiver of somebody who has Alzheimer's disease or dementia, calling and asking about maybe some of the things that are happening right now with the disease. People who are caregivers of those living with the diagnosis, as the disease progresses, the person changes, sometimes even has what seems like a personality change, never, is very against anything you're suggesting and won't do things like for their daily care, maybe won't take their medication. I don't know what to do. As a caregiver, sometimes when your spouse won't take their medication because they have dementia and they're not thinking and their brain is not working the way it should, what should I do? Should I just leave it alone, or should I argue with them, or how should I get them to take their medication? That's just an example of something you can call us at this 800 number and ask about. And we can give you some great suggestions and maybe some resources even as well. So, and we have other features of our website, especially for those living with the diagnosis. Alz Connect or Alzheimer's Navigator. It's a great way to find community resources or just connect with others with the same diagnosis. And so that's it. Okay, that's the end of our program today. I'm going to just stop showing my.
Thank you so much, Sheila. That was a wonderful presentation. Lots of great information that I think it's important to think about and, decide what changes work the best for everyone. So again, if you have any questions, please go ahead and put them in the Q&A box now. I'll get started with the first question. Do you have any specific local resources that you'd recommend for people to get involved in, kind of based on what you talked about?
To get like a healthy living resource, or get involved with the Alzheimer's Association? Or
yeah,
what?
either one. So getting involved with the Alzheimer's Association, different volunteer opportunities that you recommend, social connections.
Having that, and I hope people will share what are they doing also. So I always like to hear about that. But here in our area, like in Montgomery County, Maryland, or Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, we have so many great opportunities to get involved with the community. At the Alzheimer's Association, if you look on our website, alz.org, and just click on the volunteer button, we have so many opportunities. Alzheimer's Association we're well known for is raising money for research, and we hope to eventually have a cure for this disease. Think about it, what we just learned. If you participate in a walk, you're going to do something healthy. Hopefully you'll walk. You're going to raise money, so you're going to help the community and the Alzheimer's Association in general. But that's a way for you to be socially engaged as well. So maybe walk with others or have a walk team in your community. We in Montgomery County anyway, there's like a volunteer center that actually my son is just graduated high school. Opportunities around our area for him to get involved in, and things that he was interested in. So same as us as adults, and teenagers are the same, and anybody. That let's do things that we are interested in and that are fun for us and that give us those benefits that we talked about, like the social engagement and the physical health.
Absolutely. Thank you. Again, so if anyone wants to put in the chat or Q&A box what they're currently doing, we'd love to hear, discuss a little bit, or again, any questions. Um, and then another question, are you able to share any specific pieces of research that you've heard lately that you find is interesting or, worth sharing?
Well, we as far as treatment for Alzheimer's disease, this is one of our that's big in the news right now. There's a drug called Leqembi, that is now been approved by the FDA and also approved by Medicare for payment. So this is an IV therapy drug. Prior to 2020, the only drugs we had to really use for people with Alzheimer's disease were by pill form. And they were what I talked about earlier. They only helped the symptoms. And it was only in the early stages or middle stages of the disease. So some people could take some of the drugs that were on the market, as I said, orally, and it would help with maybe their memory. It just made their memory not so bad as it was without the drug, or maybe their thinking was a little easier and they weren't forgetting as much. It's kind of like they plateaued. It didn't affect the disease at all, didn't stop the progression, but it helped some people in some parts of the disease. Now, as of 2020, we've had many what we call IV therapy drugs, which have to be given intravenously. And so those drugs actually are affecting the biology of the disease and helping people not only with those symptoms, but we think changing the course of the disease as well. So we're hoping that, it's the beginning of a long list of drugs that will help and then eventually be a cure. So that's kind of the biggest thing that we talk about now in the Alzheimer's Association. But one question I usually get, and which I guess I didn't get today, is people always ask about when I talked about supplements before, and really talking to your doctor and making sure there's no counteracting of, you take a supplement and it affects the cardiac medications that you're taking. Many people ask about like the brain supplements that you see. If you watch Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy every night, you'll see, there's a lot of commercials for, different kinds of supplements. So realize that's what it is. It's a supplement versus an actual prescribed drug or something that's approved by the FDA. So before you take anything, any drug or supplement, don't think supplements are just easy to take and they're no big deal, and don't think they're a cure. Really be careful about what you take and be very conscious of, talking with your doctor first, as I said. So I can't say that enough, but there is no cure for memory loss right now. So, but talk to your doctor.
Thank you. That's good advice. And it's interesting, to hear about the new developments, and it's very exciting moving forward. Well, if we don't have any more questions, I just want to say thank you so much, Sheila, for being here today and providing us with so much helpful information and answering questions. And again, I will send out the evaluation and the recording so anyone can look back and remember all the great things that we learned today. So thank you so much and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Maura. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. Get outside and move.